candid camera tonight, so just want to let everybody know. Thank you for coming. And I'm out of breath. I just got back from flying on the B-17 bomber, and I'm telling you, that was the most exhilarating thing maybe I've ever done. I don't know. When you sit down in that nose bubble with a machine gun and a bomb sight, and you're looking out, of course, it doesn't thrill everybody, but if you're a pilot or if you're interested in airplanes, it was incredible. So I'm a little high right now, high from being out. The purpose of the meeting I wanted to call, I put in the paper earlier that I was going to have a public information meeting about the SPLOST, and hoped to have started it sooner, but we couldn't get it done. We had so much to do just trying to get ready. So we felt like we just had 1 week of early voting, so we've got 2 more weeks of early voting and then the election. So I wanted to bring this up and go over this so that if anybody's got any questions about it, they could bring them up. And so I'm gonna spend the first probably 15, 20 minutes here just talking to you. And then when I get through, then I'll open it up for comments or questions. If I go along and something's really just driving at you, go ahead and raise your hand. But I'll try to get through this first part kind of quickly. For the next SPLOST, which is going to be referred to as SPLOST 4, we're using a projection of $19 million. Projection of total collections in the 6-year period from 2015 through 2021. We have entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Blairsville, appreciate the mayor being here, where they will receive 7.89% of the collections, or an estimated $1.5 million. And we feel comfortable if the economy continues to grow, these numbers will grow. We don't have any way of knowing that, but we estimated these numbers based on actually less than what we think we will have collected in the last 6 years, based on the numbers we've gotten so far, and we've been through one of the worst recessions, I think, in American history since the Depression, and still we're able to hold our numbers at or above 19 million. So we feel comfortable that this is a really conservative and safe number to utilize, but it's what we're using for our projections. Some people have been confused in the past by saying in our last SPLOST that we estimated $31.5 million, and why do we do that? We knew we couldn't collect that much. Well, at the time our economy was booming, and that was an estimate of possible collections back in 2007, back when we first started, and before the economy took the hit, and they took the bond people took the growth rate we'd had, and they said somewhere between probably 28 to 31,000. But at that point in time, the law has now changed somewhat, but at that point in time, if you estimated low, say if we'd estimated 21 million and then got to that point and collected it, then we'd have to cease collection. So it behooved us at that point in time in that SPLOST to estimate our numbers high. Now that's not the case. In this particular SPLOST, we're trying to keep our numbers right at what the numbers we think they'll be, or conservatively be. Through the continuation of the current SPLOST, a portion of the money collected by this tax is from patrons of other counties and states that either shop in or travel through Union County. The revenues generated from non-county residences help fund our capital projects that otherwise would be funded by Union County citizens alone. The SPLOST ensures that Union County continues to provide needed services and facilities while maintaining the 4th lowest property tax rate in the state of Georgia. The necessity for these services and facilities will not go away. The easiest way to pay for them, in my opinion, is through the continuation of the SPLOST, but that is up to the public when they go to the polls. The visitors and citizens alike helping to make the improvements possible. Without the continuation of SPLOST, the burden will be on property taxpayers by the necessity to increase property tax rates to be able to meet the needs of our county. This is not a new SPLOST. It is only a continuation of the current SPLOST, which is 1 penny of every 7 penny sales tax. The election is scheduled for November the 5th, 2013, with early voting beginning last Monday. The one thing I do want to stress, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now, is however you decide to vote, it's important that you vote. That's what's critical. And we want everybody to not only vote themselves, we want them to get their family and their friends to vote, because this is one of the most important things in our county. It's not one of the most important elections I don't think we've ever had, but it certainly is very important, because without SPLOST, we would be like I feel like we'd be like a lot of counties down in South Georgia. Over 95% of the Georgia counties currently have a SPLOST, and it allows us to greatly enhance our quality of life. For SPLOST 4, our projects will predominantly be made up of our major infrastructure projects. First and foremost, we will work on roads and bridges. This is ongoing all the time, every month, every day, for the duration of the SPLOST. We're proud that we have some of the best maintained roads of any county, rural county around, and we definitely want to keep it that way. Currently, we spend about $1 million, or will be spending about $1 million per year estimated with our new SPLOST, and about $800,000 a month, $800,000 a year out of our general budget for property taxes. We're spending that $800,000 now as well, so we will just continue that out of our general budget. If we did not have the SPLOST, it's pretty obvious that the only other method to raise money would be from increased property taxes. And some people have suggested that we try to threaten people with the fact that if it doesn't pass, we're going to raise property taxes. It's not a threat. It's just a fact. My job is to get up here and give facts today. The fact is that we have to have money to maintain roads, to renovate and add to buildings, to look after public safety, to look after our vehicle purchases. So it's simple. We either do it with SPLOST or we do it out of the budget of the county, which is property taxes. Public safety. This is our other, which will include the purchase of new fire trucks, ambulances, and sheriff's office cars, and any needed E911 upgrades, and possibly jail upgrades. Safety of our citizens is key. Therefore, we want to be able to keep safety going without interruption. We will need to purchase several vehicles during the SPLOST period. Remember, we're talking about from 2015 through 2021. So vehicles going to have some age on it at that point. Transfer station. We'll begin renovations at the transfer station next year, early in the spring. And then we hope to finish the renovation of the transfer station in the next SPLOST. This is the worst remaining facility in the county, and we want to turn it from the dump to a recycling and transfer center, which is what it's supposed to be. County maintenance, county facility maintenance. For example, our courthouse is currently 7 years old. By the end of the next SPLOST, it will be 15 years old. More than likely, during that next 6-year period, we may require a new roof, a capital improvement of a new roof. We will probably require capital improvement of new HVAC units in that period of time. With the changes in the SPLOST law, we can now allocate SPLOST funds for building renovation and towards county building renovation. We have a lot of county buildings that will eventually need some type of maintenance or repairs. We can't do general maintenance, but we can do anything that's a capital improvement, which would be a roof, a floor, or a heat and air unit, and there's going to be a lot of that necessary. We feel it's better to be able to use SPLOST fund for that rather than money from the general fund, which would come from property taxes. Economic development. We cannot live on tourism alone. Therefore, we are allocating some of our SPLOST funding towards economic development to assist with plant relocation if needed. Bringing job opportunities here to Union County is definitely one of our priorities. Somebody had asked me what would those things typically be. Typically they would be If a new business is looking at coming here, we might have to do some paving for them. We might have to extend the water or the sewer line. But those are the kind of things we want to be in a position to do that will help bring industry and jobs to Union County. And with this project, with this SPLOST, we're going to allocate some funds for that purpose. We will make payments on the Union County Community Center. It will be our intention to pay this debt off during the SPLOST, but that will depend on actual collections. I had a couple of people ask me about the community center, and I said, you know, when we started to talk about the community center, I had public meetings discussed in the paper several times that we were going to be pre-funding SPLOST, through the community center with this SPLOST, and not pay it, with the coming up SPLOST that we're talking about, not the previous SPLOST. And I made that, and to remind folks, we initially were getting a USDA loan to do the community center. And then the government restrictions got so prohibitive after we'd already done the funding, already gotten the design, and done all of that. And that was when we were using some of the stimulus funds. They were coming around kind of baiting us with it. Well, it turned out that they said in 6 months we'd be ready to go, and it was already a year and 3 months, and we still weren't ready to go. And they came back with a whole new set of restrictions. So at that point in time, I had to make the decision. We either had to stop all of our other SPLOST projects that we're doing and have done this period, or I had to make the move to continue on to pre-fund the building. And so that's what I chose to do. I made the decision that the importance of that building and the economic development that it'll bring to Union County over time was more important than the fact that we were going to have a small debt that we could easily handle. Some people might call $5 million a large debt. I call it a small debt. We're one of the lowest debt counties in North Georgia. We hope to be able to construct, recreation. I have always been pro-recreation and will continue to invest in recreation for our youth and adults alike. Each year our schools are growing with new students, therefore the recreation department also has to grow. We hope to be able to construct a small splash pool adjacent to the Meeks Park pool. There's a small area just to the left. Refurbish some ball fields, which we're already doing some of that now. Be prepared to take on soccer at some point should we have to. We've got a soccer league in the county, and they've been kind of teetering back and forth whether they were going to quit and kind of dump it on the county. We're hoping they will continue, but we've got to be ready for that. And one of the most important things I think that will be a big hit will be an amphitheater that we'll build in Meeks Park. We'll be overlooking the field where the Sargon Festival is now, so that we will have a place for not only festival events, but we'll have a place for our county and community, for our churches, for our musicians, for anybody in the county that wants to be able to use a facility like that with purposes. There are so many uses and purposes for that. So we think that will be a really big enhancement to Meeks Park and to the county. Another quality of life issue. The library, I hope most of you have been to our new library, but if you haven't, you need to go. It is an amazing facility. Unfortunately, the state has discontinued funding for books and technology for the libraries. So we're going to take a small amount of the SPLOST money each year so that the library will be able to update and buy books each year, and as their computer equipment gets older, in the next 7 to 8 years, they'll be able to replace that. Some other improvements that we'd like to accomplish involve some upgrades at the horse arena, golf course, expansion of the farmers market. And when and if strategic land parcels become available, we also want to be in a position to take advantage of that. Below is a list of most of the projects completed or under construction with our current SPLOST, and I just wanted to review them quickly for you. Of course, many miles of roads that we've repaved, resurfaced, built since we've been here in the last SPLOST. We've added security cameras, HVAC units, and sewer improvements at the jail. Purchase of property at Meeks Park for new walking trails. Purchase a property at Meeks Park for connection to the old Blue Ridge Highway that we just got under contract in the last couple of weeks. New playground equipment for Meeks Park, new covered horse arena. I'm telling you what we've done, such as community rooms, senior center renovation and expansion, library renovation, expansion, and books, public safety, sheriff's car, sheriff's office cars, fire truck payoff, ambulances for the hospital, new fire station and renovation of existing bays, and new parking lot. Purchase of more land and a house at Shoe Factory Road for the fire station for future expansion, 911 center, transfer station renovation starting next year, new farmers market, new cannery building, civic center renovations, new Union County Community Center, including the pro shop, chamber of commerce, the grill, banquet rooms, meeting rooms, and development authority offices. Choice Toy voting, community center, which is the old Choice Toy schoolhouse. We'll have an open house on that on October the 31st, Halloween day at, beginning at 10 o'clock in the morning. So those of you that can, we want you to come out and see what an amazing facility this is. We have saved the last remaining rural schoolhouse in Union County, and it's really a masterpiece, and it'll be doubling up as our voting precinct up there. We installed the elevator, paid for the elevator installation and purchase at the historic courthouse. The Byron Herbert Reeves property, purchased additional property there for future use of City Hall, and then the City of Blairsville, City Hall renovations and expansion, public facilities and street improvements, water and sewer facilities and equipment. I don't think I talked about the City of Blairsville, but in this splosh, we rely on the City of Blairsville for sewer and water, totally. And if we didn't have that, we'd be sunk. So we've always had a good working relationship with the mayor, and that's why we've worked together to come up with our SPLOST projects. And we're very thankful that they will continue doing water and sewer projects and some other enhancements in the city that was in there that will be in the referendum. Got some other stuff, but what I'm going to do for just a minute here is take questions on this SPLOST and really nothing else but about this SPLOST.
How can we trust you to use our money in this SPLOST when you didn't build the projects you were supposed to build with the last project that we were all told that we were going to be, and if we didn't build them, that you were going to raise our taxes like the jail and like the transfer station. And you had put $800,000 aside for the transfer station in that SPLOST, and you put $2 million for the jail, and neither one of them were built. They were abandoned. And now we don't know what you're going to do with this SPLOST money.
Well, I would first say that it's obvious that you will not trust me. So I hope that's the case and continues that way. As far as the rest of the public, I think they realize that there is not a county, a rural county in the state of Georgia, maybe not in the southeast, that has done as much with the SPLOST funding as we have done. And I'm going to go over some details on that in here in just a minute. Any other specific questions?
Yes. You talked about paying on this community center. You said it's just a small amount. You told us that it was going to be $3.4 million. You went for over $5 million, but we're paying $3 million up front in interest. Is that a wise decision?
Yes, ma'am. If I make a decision and it's not a wise decision, I'll let the public know. But as long as I'm making the decisions, we have collectively with the people that I rely on to support and give me advice and that we talk about and discuss, the decisions we made with SPLOST are all very wise decisions, bar none. So at this point in time, and then when I get through this, I'll take additional questions. Our friend here has passed out some of these here at this meeting and has passed them out in the community and on the internet. And basically what it is, it says Union County News Report, SPLOST 4 vote. And of course, what it is, they really have it in for me personally, and so in order to attack me personally, which they have done in this document numerous times with numerous lies, misstatements, and innuendos, have also unfortunately attacked other people trying to get at me. And so what I'm going to do right now is, some of y'all have this and some of you may not, but at some point in time you'll have access to it. But I'm going to read through some of this stuff, and I think it'll answer a lot of the questions that Ms. Pittman will have going forward, and the ones it doesn't answer, she can ask those when we finish this part, and I'll be glad to answer those or any others that anybody has. It's going to take just a minute to go through this, so if you'll bear with me on this. So I'm actually going to read this document. So if you don't have it or haven't seen it yet, you don't have to, because I'm going to read it to you.
Would you like me to give a copy to everyone so they can
You
follow?
can when we get through.
Oh.
This is going to be one of the most important votes. Now, this is their document in the history of Union County, and that is why it is important that everyone shows up. There is a reason this vote is being put on the ballot 2 years early, in a year where there are no major election issues. The powers that be are counting on the fact that there will be a light voter turnout. We offer up some interesting facts you probably won't hear about in the North Georgia News. Read our 8 SPLOS facts that you need to know, pages 4 through 12. And we'll get to those in just a minute. And I think, let me just address first the simplest question, which is, why are we doing this, voting on this far ahead? This is the last election period where we can vote on this. If it were to fail, we have to wait 12 months to have another election. So then if we have the other election, this is the only period of time we could do it and not lose SPLOS money in the meantime. So if we, for example, and I don't think it's not going to pass, but for example, if it were not to pass, we couldn't have the election until next November, which would be November of 14th. And then we've got, and then we've got time to go to the next election. In other words, if we have a break in service of SPLOS, every retail business in Union County would have to stop collecting money for a period of months until we got the SPLOS passed. There is no reasoning or rationale to take that chance and letting that happen. There is no other reason that we're doing this early. I would like to have done it later. I would like to have waited to do it July, but we felt like the timing, we'd have that chance of losing months of collection, which would mean not only would we lose the revenue in the county, but again, everybody would have to stop collecting 7%, start collecting 6%, and then if we passed it the next time, then they'd have to start all over. So it's a foolish thing to even think about letting happen, and that's why most counties and school systems do their voting ahead of time. Number 2, Union County audit problems. The 2012 Union County audit arrived recently. Our review shows, this is their review, shows huge financial problems that are being potentially covered up by the county, including more theft. We offer up some facts and insight you aren't getting in the North Georgia News, and which strongly suggests the need for a detailed forensic audit of the county finances. And I'll get into detail in that at some point in this program, but it's really so ridiculous that it doesn't bear talking about. An audit is one of the most complicated things. We made probably what was a mistake. We'd had the same audit firm for about 4 or 5 years. They had some people leave them. They got behind the last 2 years, and so our audit got done late. And I got frustrated about that, and then the county director and myself talked about it, and she was frustrated about it too, because it looks just as, actually if you go 3 years, the state would fine us. So we made the decision to change auditors. And when you change auditors, it's just like if you go to get an accountant to do your taxes. No 2 accountants are going to do them alike. And we had the same issue with the auditors. No 2 auditors are doing it alike. So the new auditors we got totally threw out a lot of the things that our previous auditors had brought up. And really, to read their story, the way they have to put stuff in writing makes it look like it was a bad audit. But if you were here at the county meeting when the audit team gave their report of the county finances, you would have heard him say that our county finances are excellent and in good shape as they've always been. There's no different in our county finances today than there was the day the year after I took office. So our county is in excellent financial condition. I want to just mention one of the idea, because they changed where funds went from one fund to another. Basically the community center. We set it up exactly the way the previous auditors told us to set it up. Under urban redevelopment has always been on the county audit since it's created, but just as a component unit. Now, I don't know exactly what all a component unit is, but I'm giving you a accounting call. Same as the Development Authority and the Health Department. But the new auditors wanted what is called in a blended component account, which just means it's moved from one place in the audit to another place. But when they moved it in that place in the audit, they made this horrible statement that we're going to move, these funds should have been moved, shouldn't be in this account, they should be in this account. Had nothing to do with anything except their opinion was they should be here. Our previous auditors told us to put it here, and that's where it's been. So that was a $5.5 million thing. Another was $1 million on a pension fund. A pension fund has always been on the county books, always done with the auditor's approval. The new auditors said that since we have no control over these funds, and most of the money is not under county funds, meaning that part of that money belongs to the employees, their 401k funding, they removed this fund from the county books and just took it away. Well, it's about $1 million. So if you read the audit, it said we took $1 million and moved it out of the county budget. Well, it's the same money, nothing's changed, everything's the same, except one auditor told us to do it one way, the new auditor's telling them to do it the other way. So we're having to go back this first year, and we're doing everything the new auditor wanted. Self-insurance fund, we're on our medical insurance, we're partially self-insured for the first $30,000. The new auditors want us to set up a payable. As it is now, if you have surgery done in, say now, October, November, you may not get all your bills till January or February, which would come to the county to have to pay for our employees. So what do? We booked the money that was done in 2010 when they had the surgery. If they got any bills in, we booked them in 2010, but the others we booked in 2011 when they came in, which is the way the other auditors had always told us to do it, and we've been doing it that way the whole time. These auditors, they didn't like that. What did they say do? We want you to estimate what that cost of that surgery is going to be and that they're going to pay for in 2011, and you turn around and estimate that and book it all in 2010, and then go back and make an adjustment in 2011 once the bills get in. Well, you could just imagine, and this just goes on and on and on. Has nothing to do. Our county's got the same amount of money we had. We've got a fund balance every year. We pay our bills every year. We have money in the bank at the end of every year, like we've always done. Nothing has changed except for the way they want to put the funds in different pockets. So, in one of their things that they were suggesting that we do a forensic audit, which would cost probably $500,000 to do a forensic audit. And they're not going to find anything different or better than our auditors, because I can tell you the auditors we got now, they're as damn forensic as you can get. They cover every dang little detail. And so our finances are good, our audit is good, and we were well pleased with what we got. Property taxes, manipulations, and tax cheats. The commissioner is fond of quoting his low property taxes, like I've already done today. Almost the lowest in the state, he claims. See his manipulations revealed. Also, we expose how the commissioner cheats on his own personal and family property tax while raising yours. And that's page 21. And we'll get to these in a little more detail. But But I can assure you and anybody that if I was guilty of a fraction of the things they put in this document, I'd be under some jail somewhere, somehow. But we have never, my family nor myself, have never, under any circumstance, for any reason, ever cheated on our property taxes. Editorial summary. The 4 stories above are actually all linked. That's the 3 we SPLOST for, the audit, the tax cheats, editorial summary. Lies, manipulations, illegal activities, and a lack of proper news coverage has led to a rapidly deteriorating financial condition of the county. Citizens need to hit the pause button and demand a forensic audit. And I've already responded to that. So now we're going, they've got 3 levels in here. That's their overview. And then the second one is where they break down, we're diving into SPLOST now, which I think is the most important part, and that's what I want to cover tonight. And they've got on their page 4, they've got 8 SPLOST facts you need to know. Number 1, money isn't being used in the way citizens are voting for it to be used. Simply not true, but we'll get into that. Lies are being told and false reports published about how much projects cost. Again, false. Money is being wasted, and the citizens are getting less than what they are paying for, and far less than they deserve. I guess by those standards we have met or exceeded our referendum approval by the voters in all of our projects. And at the end of this, I think while a lot of the questioning is how we funded and how we financed and how we paid for our different projects, Union County, the one thing that nobody can say, there is not a single SPLOST project that has been done in Union County that anybody can find anybody that can do it any cheaper. So while sometimes, as with the Suches Community Center, when we try to use people in Suches and try to employ them in this down economy, yeah, we may have tried to, we actually did that project ourselves to try to save money. Every project we do, we save money on, and we save a lot of money on it. So whereas someone may question by some method what we initially said a project would cost, and you'll find a lot of confusion in this. The one thing nobody has proven or can prove when they go back and look at a project, that project was bloated and that we paid more for it than we should have, because that has not happened. We all work hard. Larry Garrett works hard. My financial staff works hard, and we put the screws on people to give us the best prices we can get when we do things. And we've always done that, and that's why it's so frustrating when we work so hard to try to save the county money, and we have people that continue to get out and say these things. The SPLOST projects are creating permanent long-term government cost increases that are threatening the financial health of the county. Again, we'll get to this, but there is no threatened problem with the financial health of the county. I will assure you the financial health of the county is strong, and most counties would be very dang happy to have the financial health that we've got and all the facilities and upgrades that we have. Much of the SPLOST goes to pay huge land prices to a select lucky few, and you'll get a kick out of this when we get to that. Huge loans are being taken out that are locking the county into long-term debt, and which are backed by property taxes. Yes, the county is essentially signing away the right to raise your property taxes to the banks. And this is a pretty simple item, but anytime you have a SPLOST, we've done it with all of our SPLOST, you bond money up front and pay the projects and do them ahead of time. We did it with the jail. We paid the jail debt off, and this paid off. In the next SPLOST, we built the courthouse. We borrowed the money to do it. We paid it off with the SPLOST in the 5-year period, We have no debt on the courthouse or any of those projects. This project, we borrowed $5 billion at the front of this project. We'll pay by the end of this, by March of 15, we'll have every project paid off except for the community center. And I've told everybody that I pre-funded that we would be paying for that in this coming SPLOST. County Commissioner Lamar Paris is violating several laws in his SPLOST abuses, and this is putting the county in danger of expensive lawsuits. So we're waiting to see who's going to file those expensive lawsuits on something that we're not doing wrong, and we would welcome those lawsuits. The current SPLOST doesn't end until 2015. There's no rush to pass this 2 years early, although this is the way that it is being treated. Why? And now they've taken these eight items and they've broken them down into detailed questions on each item. They basically come in and, well, I'm sorry to take your time, and I'm going to continue reading. I hope this is it.
I have a question.
Okay.
Aren't all of these things old charges that have been looked at by the ethics maven from northeast or northwest Georgia, as well as the news media, and all been found unfounded? Yeah,
but it doesn't seem to stop the people. They've gone to the Attorney General's office, the GBI, the FBI, I'm assuming the Ethics Commission, and the DA and the judges and anybody else they could find. Of course, Richard Belcher, and we came up and did a story on the horse arena where they said we were wasting money and spent more money than we had. He determined that we billed it $10,000 under budget. So, yes, but I still feel, if you'll bear with me, to just go through these facts, and we'll have this out. Money isn't being used in the way citizens are voting for it. This is number one. The law states that the SPLOST funds shall be used exclusively for the specified purposes. This is not being done in violation of the law. Now they've got about 5 different ideas. The first one is the jail expansion was abandoned. Now the SPLOST project, SPLOST law requires that if you've got a project you put on the list, you can't just abandon that project for no reason. You've got to have some expenses going to it. Now you may not be able to pay for it totally or do it totally, but you have to do some expenditure on that problem. The jail expansion was abandoned. The SPLOST 3 referendum called for a jail renovation and expansion. The voter notice was for $2 million. As of 2012, that estimate has been reduced to $87,490. Renovation was done that consisted of some new air conditioners. Furthermore, a jail by law is designated as a level 1 project and has higher priority than other projects. So there's always a little bit of truth in this stuff. So yeah, initially we had hoped to be able to expand the jail because it was just growing by leaps and bounds. I have to give our sheriff credit. Our jail now is lower census than 8-10 years ago. We do not need a new jail. We do not need an addition to our jail. Would it be nice? Probably would be. But do we need it? Do we need to staff it with all the extra officers that that's going to require? We don't have a need for that. So what we have done is put these expenditures that I mentioned earlier, the sewer, the heat and air, the upgrades to the security system, and that's what we're doing right now. We don't have enough money to do that project. And the next question always comes up, they call it these people that don't know what they're talking about, but they try to make it like they do, and I don't know where this comes from. They call it a level 1 project. Well, it's not a level 1 project. The only projects that are level 1s are the ones that you put in your referendum when you vote on it, that this is a level 1 project. And what that means is, if it's a level 1 project, I get to spend, let's say it's $5 million, I get to spend $5 million on it before I give the mayor a penny. And then after I spend the $5 million on the level 1, or if it's a courthouse and it's $10 million or $15 million, once I spend that money, then what's left, the mayor gets his percentage. That's the only difference. But in our referendum, we did not prioritize this as a level 1 project. So it's not a level 1 project. And they just keep bringing this up over and over again. I don't think they were lying on that. I think it's just the ignorance of not knowing the law and being able to understand the law and read the law and not wanting to ask anybody what the law is. It's easier to guess what it is than to answer it. The solid waste transfer station, recycling center renovation and expansion has been abandoned. Well, that's really interesting that it's been abandoned. We've got this SPLOST project does not run out until March of 2015. We've been working on designs out there for the last year, and we'll start in the spring in this SPLOST on the transfer station. Nobody's abandoned the transfer station. You know, how do you come up with stuff like this? Item C, the livestock arena has been abandoned, and a cannery that was not a purpose specified has been added. The SPLOST 3 referendum called for a new farmers market livestock arena. The published cost estimate was given was $784,000. As of 2012, that estimate has been raised to $1,199,000 after abandoning the livestock arena and after illegally adding the cannery. I like that word. They like to use the word illegal. Everything's illegal. If they don't understand it, they just call it illegal. So, the livestock arena, initially we were looking at the possibility of putting it over at the farmer's market. When we decided we were going to do the horse arena, at the capacity we did it was foolish to build a livestock arena there. And so when we built the horse arena, it doubles as a livestock arena. So there's no reason to build a livestock arena. The canning plant and the farmer's market is part of the recreation department, is run and operated under the recreation department. Under recreation, those are sub-projects of recreation. And we have the authority and the right and the legal right to add projects under recreation because it was a general guideline. We didn't know if we'd need one playground or 3 playgrounds, or if we were going to need a canning plant, or if we were going to need another ball field. So you don't specify every detail, but under our recreation, the way it was worded in the referendum, this falls under that, and that's why we did the cannery under recreation. The county annex building expansions project seems to have been abandoned, moved. The voter notice was for $490,000. Nothing has been done today except for $200,000 for the purchase of a little .29 acre parking lot. And I'm going to try to rush through some of this stuff because I see some people out there with their eyes closed. And worst thing, I'm going to bore everybody to death. But we did buy a small piece of property over next to the annex, which is what we used to call the old nursing home. And they say that we've, and I think that may come in here somewhere else, but they say that we have taken we're not using it anymore. We've abandoned the project, and we've lied to the public again. And they said that everybody's moving out of the building over there. Well, it turns out we've had one person move out, one move in, and another one that may move out. So who's in the annex right now? Transportation or public transportation system, a 911 dispatch or 911 mapping, our anti-drug coalition, our board of elections, our Department of Juvenile Justice, our Anota Casas, our disabled veterans, our Red Cross, Avita Mental Health, New Hope Counseling, the coroner, and I'll probably miss one or two. But that's who is in the annex. And again, the annex, we haven't, the period's not over, and we've got work to do that we're going to be doing over there prior to the end of this SPLOST, which again is March 2015, which is another year and better. So we've got plenty of time to work on these. So why they're considered abandoned, I'm really not totally sure. And I'm going to miss so many things because there's just so much in here. The county more funds were spent illegally. The commissioner is shamelessly exploiting veterans to win their votes by adding on to the old library. To the old chamber building by putting in we're adding an addition for the veterans to be able to have meetings over there since we made that a veterans building. So I have shamelessly exploited the veterans to win votes on a lie, and no SPLOST money was actually used. but we are using SPOS money because it's, again, this is under Recreation Department. We have the ability to use SPOS funds for that, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're not using other funds and lying to the veterans and, you know, what the heck would I want to do that for? Next one is SPOS Facts 2. I'm telling you, it's really hard to keep up with all this stuff, and I hope, and I'm really are going to try to skip through some things. If I'd had more time today, and I hadn't been thinking about trying to fly that airplane today, I probably could have got you. I could have kept you another week down here. It is in a legally mandated pre-SPOS public meeting. Lamar talked about the proposed projects. Number one, roads, bridges, $12 million, and she's complaining that we didn't spend $12 million, and that DOT, I said DOT would match that money, and DOT obviously hadn't matched that money, so what's it about? Well, things change. You know, there used to be DOT, when DOT would help counties pass SPOS because they knew that money was important for county roads. And so they would agree in writing to match penny for penny or dollar for dollar, whatever the county collected in SPOS for roads and bridges, they would match it through DOT. Well, a thing happened about 3 years ago, or 4 years ago probably now. DOT ran out of money for a while, if you remember when Governor Perdue was in there. And so they changed all the regulations. They don't match them anymore. So the $12 million we put down was predicated on collecting $31.5 million. So we collected about half that. So we used, you know, we'll be end up using 10 to 12 million probably. And it's just really nothing issue. Starting the last SPOS 3 campaign season, and speaking of the solid waste transfer station, Lamar Paris said this project, which has to be done either through sales tax or property tax. Then they put fact. 6 years later, nothing has been done on the transfer station, and the project has been illegally abandoned. Property taxes were not raised. Tactics used by Commissioner, lies, fear, and threats. I've already discussed this, so we know that that's something that we are working on. It had not been 6 years, and again, it's just a lot of misinformation. Just before the SPOS 3 vote, Lamar Paris said, "Why would someone vote against SPOS knowing that the jail must be built?" Well, I'm going to skip that because we already talked about the jail. Number 12, just before the SPOS 3 vote, that's all about the jail. Sheriff, you don't mind if I skip over that, do you?
No, I would like to say one thing though.
Okay.
When I took over, there were 78 to 83 people in the jail, and now there, we got down as low as 44 or something. We're up to 60 today, I believe, or something. And it looks like maybe that we're not doing our job, but that's not right. Through the end of all this, we've taken in 9.5% more prisoners. We just identify that when they get there, what they're doing here in this jail is where they need to go. That's not a prison up there, it's a jailhouse, a temporary holding facility. So we try to move them on through, and I just wanted to say that.
Okay. And the other thing that happens with the jail issue is we don't know with the new I'm not sure of the terminology, but the governor started, it's basically, what's the term, Sheriff, for prison? They've done an overhaul of the whole legal system as far as prisoners, and for some reason.
Is it the
Criminal justice reform, yes. The governor's done that, set that up for the state. It's also in the counties, and the whole purpose of that is to cut back on prisoners in the state prison system and prisoners in the county prison system. So there are a lot of new programs going on that we hope will further reduce this through having counseling and different drug programs and rehab programs that people can be sentenced to prior to having to ultimately put them in the jail. SPOS Fact 3, farmers market. Our farmers market is awesome. Now this is the first time they've used this term that they like any of these things, but they have admitted that it's awesome. But it's about 60% over budget. It was from what it was voted on. because of incompetent management decisions, overpaying of iffy bids, expensive mistakes, poor designs, and this goes on and on. And again, this is only their opinion. Are there certain projects that cost more in the end than we originally thought? There certainly are. It's not because of improper planning. It's because of when you determine what you really want and need. My opinion is, always has been, will continue to be, if we're going to build it, we're going to build it right. And nobody in my wildest imagination, nobody could have told me that we would have spent that much money on the facility itself, that it was going to cost that much. But we could have gone in, as Ms. Pittman's famously calling our new facility, and built just a pole barn, or we could have built a facility that is the envy of everybody. And we have people coming from all over the southeast to come look at our farmers market and our cannery. It is renowned. And we have calls just about every 3 or 4 weeks. Somebody else wanting to come up and look at it and say, and then of course talk to me about how did y'all do that? How did you finance it? How people in Georgia understand it. People in North Carolina, where they don't have a SPLOST, they're just amazed. They just don't know how we're able to do all that we do. The horse arena is another. This is another quote. The horse arena is another great addition to the county, but it was originally planned to cost $150,000. Now this is a 1-acre facility under roof. Now, who would ever think that you could build a 1-acre facility under roof for $150,000? And I don't need to go into this further except Richard Belcher. You can just rewatch the Richard Belcher story and you'll have all the details about that. And then they say, hooray for Suches. It's funny because up until now, it's been a complaint about why did we build something over in Suches and why did we break the law? Wonderful community, and they totally deserve a nice community center. But, again, $150,000 turned into $400,000. No bids to a state contractor will do that to you. Such as when we decided to take their gym, again, we start a SPLOST planning, and I'm not trying to make excuses on these things, I'm just telling you the way it is. We start SPLOST planning 2 or 3 years before the actual SPLOST. So we started planning this stuff in 2007 to try to figure out what we were going to do. At the time, we thought, we didn't discuss all the details, but we thought we may add on to the shed that's there. Well, then the school system decided to build a gym over there. And they came to the county and said, if we pay the contractor to take the old gym down, will you reconstruct it, get it reconstructed across the road so that they can have a community center? Because the people of Suches wanted a new gym, but they didn't want to give up their old gym. So what do? We said, sure we will. And so we took, instead of doing a contract on it, we took one of our employees, Randy Day, our building inspector, and put him in charge of the project. And he was over it totally from start to finish. Sole source provider was the guy who poured the floor and put the erector set back together. He's the one, Vincent Sims Construction, out of Murphy, North Carolina, is the one that the school hired to take it down. And so you got all these parts laying over here numbered and put together and what goes where, who's going to know how to put the footings in, who's going to pour the floor and make it all fit back together. What's a sole source provider? Meaning nobody else can do that. We paid him not a fraction, but a small amount to what that would normally cost. The amount of building that we got over there, no way you could build it for what we ended up building it for. We got a great facility. In addition, Randy Day did not bid out the labor because we knew it would kill us over in Suches, because some company in Gainesville would probably get the bid. They're going to put in travel, and so what we wanted to do is hard times. We wanted to put the people in Suches to work, and we got some great tradesmen over there. So we got the carpenters, the electricians, the plumbers, all from Suches, plus community volunteers, plus detainee help, and Jim Miner cracking a whip behind them, and we built a really nice community center over there and did it for, I don't know the original number, final number, probably in the $400,000 range. A great facility, and one that is enjoyed by everybody in Suches. These three projects alone, the county, the farmers market, horse arena, and Suches, accounted for about $1 million extra being spent above and beyond what voters were told. And there are plenty of questions about bidding processes used or not used. Interestingly, also, some of the same contractors keep putting in low bids and discovering mistakes in the process in their math, and I really didn't know what this said. Some people might think this looks like bid rigging was involved. At a minimum, you've got to wonder about the incompetence. Anytime we can build a facility like we got in Suches for the money we built it for, I'll be glad if somebody call me incompetent. SPLOST Fact 4. The concept is simple. The added permanent and continuing cost to operate, heating and cool, maintaining, let me see if I can skip this. This is another one of those where we're threatening the financial health of the county with all these projects, that all these projects we build are going to cost extra money to maintain and to keep up and staff, and therefore the county's going to go broke doing that. Well, when we figured these projects in, we knew what they were going to cost, we knew what the operation cost was going to be, we knew what the budgeting was going to be, and we budgeted for these projects. We have not had to raise taxes in the last 4 years. We have done all these projects, we've got them online, they are working, several of them are producing revenue in addition, and we are not in any financial difficulty because of it. Open records requests have been made to the Commissioner's office to get specific cost increases. But working with the Commissioner to get facts is like pulling teeth. He has a long history of violating and ignoring open records laws and is already well past the legal time limit to provide information. But his violation of the open records law knows no bounds and already threats a lawsuit, including by me. This is our friend that lives down in Gilmer County. And we've been publicly warned of that. And we've really been shivering about it with the concern that they're going to sue us over nothing, which is what this whole thing is, nothing. We can only assume that the reason the Commissioner is stonewalling these open records requests is that he really doesn't want the truth of how fast the increased bills are racking up to come out. The Commissioner is blatantly lying to the public. I'm going to take just a little trip right over here. You see this file box? It's a Linda Pittman Open Records, 2010, 2011, 2012. These are all individual pages that, fortunately, they had to pay for to be copied. But this is sum in the last 3 years of her open records request to the county that we have given her and complied with, and these are copies of it. But yes, she's telling everybody we don't do it because she comes in one day and wants it the next day and can't understand it. Again, she does not understand the law. The law is clear. Within 3 days, we let them know when we will have the records available. Sometimes we can get them in 3 days. Most of the time, because of limited staff, it takes another week or 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks to get them. But we give that information. And in addition, these are my files. When they decided that I was such a big crook, and they got Richard Belcher up here, and they hired Mr. Anderson, what was his first name? George Anderson, to come up and do an investigation of the county. When George got up here and did it and started looking through all this information, he said, Lamar, they're crazy. You're not doing anything wrong. And so they sued him because he didn't find anything wrong that I was doing. He's a poor guy in bad health, and they harassed him right to the nth degree. He lives over in Rome, Georgia. This is all the stuff they gave him about me. So this is pages thousands of pages about what a crook and a thief that I am. But it's nothing new because you're hearing the summaries of all of it today. But I've got that. And then this book, you can see this. This is just posts that they put on the website about me in the last probably 6-7 years. But this is a part of it that's fun. Because they have no life. Their only life, and her only life, is trying to get me arrested and put in jail for something illegal. And I haven't done anything illegal. I'm not going to do anything illegal. This job doesn't pay enough for me to take a chance on doing anything illegal. So it's just preposterous of what goes on and how people get things in their mind that they think you're doing crooked or that you don't know what you're doing. This is my home. I was born and raised here. I love this county. Everything I do, my wife constantly on me because I spend so much time doing this instead of being at home. I have to hire somebody to mow my yard, to clean the house, to do other things because I'm working all the time trying to make this a better county. And I've got a lady that I personally think is a bitch that is continuing to put out false and libelous and slanderous information. I could sue her. I could sue the guy that she's using. And I could sue a couple other people. But you know what it's going to cost me? It's going to cost me $10,000 out of my pocket. When I pay the $10,000 out, I'm going to sue the other guy who did this paper. He has no money. He's a convicted felon. He's a, in my opinion, again, I think he's a scumbag. He's a ward of the state. He has no money. He's on welfare. And all he's got to do at home is sit down there and listen to the stuff she sends him and then come back and produce false information. I'm sorry I got on that. I told somebody I'd be, yeah.
Commissioner, in reference to the remarks there about you furnishing space, the veterans organizations out in the Leon Davenport building, the state law authorizes the counties to give that space to them, and it says you may do that. And I think every citizen in this county should applaud the county for furnishing their veterans that space.
Well, thank you. Going to go on to SPLOST 5, and there's only 3 more, 5, 6, 7, and half of 8. Meeks Park Land, purchased 30.61 acres of land for $1 million, divided by the acreage, that's 32,000 an acre. Now this is interesting. You need to wake up if you're not already. The seller is Jack Caldwell. Now that's the Caldwell family. There's about 4 or 5 brothers and sisters that were born and raised in Union County, but they moved off and they've all been gone for years. Seller was Jack Caldwell. Lamar Paris and his family owns land that borders the property. It's true. Other repeat names, often hidden under a multitude of LLCs, also own property in this area. Well, we're trying to figure out just who those people are. We don't know who they are. We don't know anybody that's got an LLC over there. We don't know anybody, our property, Bill Meeks Park was my neighbor. He helped raise me. We got Meeks Park because I had a relationship with him in order to be able to get the property from him. So, and we were raised right over the ridge, so we all lived there. We've owned property that bordered down to Meeks Park for years. Does that help our property because we got a ball field with lights down there at the edge of it? I don't think so. Is there anything I'm getting as a benefit of this? I don't think so. Farmers market, this gets better. Purchased 8.3 acre parcel in 2009 for $207,000. And that's what we did. We bought the farmers market property. Divided by the acres, that's $25,000 an acre. The seller was Jane Wimpy Rogers that Lamar went to school with. Well, I'll be damned. How do you think we knew about that property, that I knew about it, and had a chance for the county to buy it? It's because I knew that family. They didn't want to sell that property. I had to talk them into selling that property. There's also a ton of land in the area owned by the same men owning property around Meeks Park. It's a damn lie. There's who? You know, they just put this stuff out here, and it's just a total fabrication. There's nobody out there that's like it's some conspiracy that we're working on, trying to do the best we can for the county and get the best we can at the lowest price. Most importantly, I think it's important to note that the entire property is in a floodplain. Well, that's too bad that we shouldn't have built the farmer's market there because it's in a floodplain. That's just a really bad location there. A huge additional cost involved. We had to put 1,300 dump trucks of dirt in there to be able to put it there. Now, I wonder if we didn't know that before we bought that property, that it was in a floodplain. And I wonder if we didn't know we were going to have to put fill dirt in there to do it. And I wonder if we didn't plan that was going to be part of the cost of that project. Farmers Market and Cannery Part 2. Purchased 5.44 acres recently, addition for $163,200. That's $30,000 an acre. Same notes apply as above regarding the seller and all the surrounding land and property owners. Important note, the land was landlocked. So in addition, they had to build an expensive bridge to get over the creek. Well, here's the creek, and here's the property we bought. The creek's between us. How's that landlocked? It might be creek locked, but it's not landlocked. The property's right there. We put in 2 low water culverts because there were 2 fords that were there. You drive through the ford. We could have continued to use those fords, but we didn't think that was best for the future of the facility because we want a nice facility. So we had the road department go in and build 2 low water culvert crossings there. And we've got those now. And we could not have bought that little strip of property if I did not have a relationship with the Wimpy Rogers family, because I had to beg them to sell us that property. That we needed more. It's part of a bigger commercial piece, and they felt like they could sell it and get a lot of money, a lot more than we paid for it per acre as a commercial tract. But we had to talk and get them to do that, and I'm very proud that we were able to do it, and it's going to be huge in the future of what we can do out on the farmer's market property. 0.29 acre parking lot next to the annex building, and we paid $200,000 for it. You know, if there's one piece of property we bought that I feel like we paid more than it's probably worth, it was that piece. At the time, we had a $1.5 million grant from the federal government, a New Hope grant, to do a drug interdiction program, and we had nowhere for anybody to park. The property line went right through the parking lot at the old nursing home, and so we had to pay the adjacent property owner for that tract of land. We negotiated. I started out, I think, $300,000 and then $250,000, and we finally negotiated down to $200,000. Was it more than I wanted to pay? Sure it was. Did we have to have it? We had to have it. We had no choice. So we've got that parking lot now, and at some point in time, when we get the money and we get the time to work on that building and facility and do some more renovation, we'll definitely need that parking lot. Byron Herbert Reese edition. Below our other recent land purchases, they go on about somehow they got the Downtown Development Authority in here that they paid $2 million for a piece of property at $241,000 an acre, and of course they're trying to tie me into that as something illegal or immoral or whatever, but that's not an issue. We have nothing to do with that. We work with the city on it, but we certainly have nothing to do with them buying property over there along in Blairsville. And I want to say to the mayor right now that I admire him and the city council members for having the gumption to go out and buy that piece of property, because that's huge, going to be huge, the future of the city of Blairsville. And that and the project they're doing downtown, I know we've all heard fun made of it, of islands and people moving stuff here and there and redoing, but in the end, it's turned out to be really, really nice. And I think it was a good project that the city and Downtown Development Authority did, and we appreciate them doing it. And we're working with them on that project, trying to see if we can have some funding on it. think I'm gonna skip, just in the interest of time. Georgia law requires projects over $100,000 to be bid out, and that's the project and suches. But I've already told you about the $200-something thousand that we sole source provider that we did over there, which we got the legal right to do. Georgia law says you can't use SPLOST funds to pay off a revenue bond. Again, they don't know the detail of the law, and with the way ours is set up, we certainly can. Georgia law requires annual newspaper and audit publication. Lamar's annual newspaper report is full of errors, inconsistencies, and often does not match up with the legally required reports. It's just a damn lie. We put the report in as required by law usually in December of every year. Now, it's not going to be valid in January and February because we already spent more money on the project. So if you get the audit and you look at a number from January or February, it's not going to match the number in the paper. But at the end of the year, when we put the number in the paper, it's accurate. Why would we put a false number in there? And how would they know that we put a false number in there? Because they go get an audit that they can't understand and try to read it and try to interpret the numbers and make them match up, and they won't match up and they can't match up. But they continue to do that. And they continue to call us errors and lies and mistakes. Or I talked about abandoning projects. We're not abandoning any projects. I talked about adding the projects. I told you how that's working. Georgia law, open records law. The Commissioner's Office has, Georgia open records law, I think we talked about that. But the Commissioner's Office has violated this law so badly and so often that lawsuits have already been threatened on this one issue alone. Now, who's threatened the lawsuit? This guy right here, Lynn Pippin's buddy. That's who's threatening the lawsuit. He ain't going to file a lawsuit because he ain't got any money. And he doesn't have a legal reason to file a lawsuit because everything he's saying in here just about is a lie or a misrepresentation. And she has bought into it and furnished him the information and gone along with it and agreed to it. And that's the kind of people you have to deal with in a county. But you know what? I started to tell you all this a while ago. Even though I'm a little excited right now, it does me a lot of good to know that her and 2 or 3 or 4 people that works with her and this guy have dedicated their entire life to trying to get something on me that they can't get. Because it's not that they can't get it, it's not there. And they continue to make it up. They continue to come do more open records. Imagine how much time our office has spent making copies and looking up all of that information. Now, we can charge for our time, but it doesn't cover the aggravation of doing it. But the pleasure I get is knowing that they have no other life. They're willing to run down my wife. They're willing to run down other people in the community, the DA, and others because they won't come and prosecute me for something that I'm not doing wrong. And so that's what you have to put up with it. But at the same time, I smile now. I'm mad tonight, a little upset tonight, but I smile because I know that their ever waking minute is dedicated to trying to get me. And they can't do it. And they won't be able to do it, and they'll never be able to do it because everything they're trying to do is a lie. It's either a lie or a misrepresentation. And some of it they just simply don't understand and don't know that they don't understand it and won't try to find out the information to make it better. Georgia SPLOST law does not allow money to be borrowed. Well, crazy. They accuse of using different monies to borrow money to do projects when we didn't. We used it out. We got it out of our budget. Well, they came up with this stuff. We don't know where it all comes from. And I'm on the last page. The current SPLOST doesn't end in 2015. We've actually already talked about 34. Yeah, that's about holding the vote in time to keep it from failing. So, now that's not all the information in here. There's a whole section in here where she talks about the audit and tries to smear the county and our good people in the finance department. And then there's a big not a big, but a section in here where she accuses me of cheating in property taxes, which is also a lie and also a misrepresentation. They've put just enough facts in there to where there may be something in that document that's factual, but then they'll make the summary of it and it'll all be lies and innuendos. So I took, and I really missed some important things in here I meant to go over, but it's, I know y'all are getting pretty bored now. So I'm gonna take this 20 after, I'm gonna take 10 minutes for questions or comments, and then we're gonna leave at 6:30. So I'll open it up to anybody that has any questions or comments. Okay, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all for coming.
Good.
Appreciate you. Let me cut this thing off.